You were recently named chair of the Black and Latino Caucus. I want to know what you believe you bring to this position and how cities like Springfield will benefit from your leadership.
Well, I am honored and delighted to be elected as the chairman of the Black and Latino Caucus. What I think I bring to the table is when a poor kid from the projects who grew up from a single family that represents the communities that we came from, I think that brings a lot to the table. So the other component that I think is very important is that most times many of the black and brown communities are challenged with many of the social issues. I try to bring the economic development side of the equation, business development, home ownership, how we can advance our communities through economic viability and development.
Absolutely. That, segues into my next question. A lot of the bills that you've filed have to do with helping minority business owners. Why do you believe that's so important, and what issues are plaguing that community right now?
When we look at the wealth gap between white communities and black and Latino communities, significantly large. So how do we change that? We change that through economic development policy. We change that through business development and ownership. So if we, as a Latino community who is very entrepreneurial, African American community who's very entrepreneurial, given the technical assistance, the access to capital programs, as well as the supportive incentives, I think that we can be better participants in the economic vibrancy that's happening in Massachusetts throughout our cities and towns, including the city of Springfield. And that comes with assistance from government and policy changes. And I think that we can do that by helping people start their own business, own their own homes, and be part of the economic development of their communities.
I've heard this brought up around the marijuana industry in particular. How do we integrate minority business owners into that field?
It's important that we look at making black and Latino community members part of the producing component of economic development, not only the consumers. So all the programs that come to assist people, it comes to assist them to be dependent more so of government than to assist them become self-sufficient. So I think that we can give people a hand up and not a handout. And I think that's so crucial, including in the marijuana industry. We put a whole policy in place. We're going to have billions of dollars be gained, and many Latino and black communities will not see $1 of that. But they will be, on the consumer side of things, putting money back into other businesses that don't represent the communities that they come from.
Absolutely. My next question is, and I want to state a statistic that's a little bit outdated, but in 2013, more than 50% of the country's population, prison population, was made up of Black and Hispanic men. What can the state do to bring more equity to the criminal justice system and really help people that may have been penalized for marijuana crimes in the past?
Well, I think people need to know that the penal system is supposed to rehabilitate people. It's not only to penalize people for their crimes. I think it's crucial and important that we continue to invest in rehabilitation programs, assisting with GED programs, access to furthering their education, also to skill sets that they can obtain during the process of when they're incarcerated. Now, it's important that we recognize that 50% of the community that's incarcerated is white folks. And whether you come from the white community or the black community, I think it's important that we, prior to them getting into problems with the judicial system, that we provide the services. And it's not only going to be education for people that want to go to college, it's going to be skill sets. People can be plumbers, people could be electricians, people can be computer developers. And sometimes they get better training in a penal system once they're incarcerated than they do on the outside because they can't afford it. So the access to programs and services from the educational as well as workforce development needs to happen early in the years, particularly to that groups of folks maybe from 16 to 24 that have been lost, whether it's through the education system or have been lost because they haven't participated in anything that can relate to what they potentially can be.
Absolutely, and I know you've done a lot of work in Springfield specifically. What is your message for inner city children in communities really across Massachusetts who look at you and say, I want to be there, I don't want to follow a school to prison pipeline? What is your message for those kids?
Well, I always say education is the guiding light, but the public school system is not the only education. Education starts at home. So I think that this is not only a individual problem, it's a community problem. So we have to tackle this from a community's perspective. We need community education. And that only doesn't mean sending your kid to school. It means parents participating in the education process. It means community leaders and community activism, challenging parents to be better parents, as well as the school system to be better advocates of the education system that they operate. So I think it's community-based, that we have to make sure that education is the key, but also I tell kids, this is my life. Grew up in the projects, grew up on welfare, grew up from a single mom, and if I can make it, they can make it. I wasn't a great student, but I was a student that made it through the system, barely passing, but I had parents that made sure, my mom, that made sure that I was there, I was as clean as possible, and I made sure that the folks that are surrounded me were advocates and mentors that gave me opportunity. Boys Clubs of America, the Cub Scouts. And those are programs that are available today, and hopefully that some of our kids can participate in those programs, but also think about what you want. Make your dreams a reality by working hard.
Absolutely. You've often referred to the State House as the People's House.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any messages for your constituents who feel kind of out of touch with you here in Boston?
You know, it's important that people do recognize that all these public buildings belong to them. No matter if you are in the low-income earner of the state of Massachusetts or the high-income earner, these are your tax dollars. This is the people's house. This is your house. And there's no house that you own that you shouldn't feel comfortable in. That's why we say, come here, come early. Believe in yourself, work hard, and you can be here also.